All right, I've been to 2 grocery stores and a Family Dollar, and I can't find toilet paper anywhere. All right, I'm gonna go home and buy a bidet.
So if you take 100, you get 1,000, you get 10,000. It's exponential growth.
Hey! Welcome, sentient beings. I'm Shamika.
And I'm Jess, and we are Sci-Fi in real life. And where the heck are we? As you can tell, we are no longer filming in person, but have gone remote, like many folks around the world, in an effort to flatten the curve related to cases of coronavirus or COVID-19, which is why you may see our eyes darting around between screens as we juggle looking at our notes and looking at the camera. So please bear with us as we too adjust to the new normal.
Indeed. Now, this is usually the show where we use a sci-fi story to help us discuss ethical dilemmas in technology today.
And today is mostly no different. We have a short that is more thriller than sci-fi, but the ethical dilemma is very important for our society today. For this special short, we watched the oh-so-relevant movie, Contagion. And we watched it for all of you so that you don't have to.
That's right. You're welcome. Don't worry about spoilers. We're not going to hound you about those for this episode. We understand if you aren't keen on watching a dramatic portrayal of a pandemic, as we're all experiencing one off-screen.
Now, before we expose you to Contagion's ethical dilemma, I'm going to share a quick synopsis of the sci-fi story. The movie Contagion starts with Beth Emhoff, who is played by Gwyneth Paltrow, returning from a business trip to Hong Kong. She doesn't feel well and assumes it's just jet lag. We soon find out that it is indeed not just jet lag, but is actually a deadly virus that causes strange respiratory systems and really scary side effects, like seizures, that ultimately lead to death for about 30% of those who contract it. Beth unfortunately dies and takes along with her her younger son, Clark, who she gave the virus to, and she also gives the virus to her husband, Mitch, who is played by Matt Damon. But Mitch, fortunately, we figure out later on, is immune to the virus, so he does not die, which means that he stays alive to watch everything unfold as chaos ensues around the world. So within a month's time, the virus has spread to most of the world and killed millions of people. And in the meantime, and throughout this process, it has left both the CDC and the World Health Organization at a loss for what to do. The exponential growth of the virus becomes impossible to contain, and it leaves the world desperate for answers, the facts, a cure, and the truth.
Medical experts who provide key facts while the president does not. And sometimes President Trump does worse, spreading outright misinformation, which the experts then correct, sometimes in front of the president's face. A dynamic driving some very powerful fact-checking of Donald Trump in real time.
And facts and the truth are what bring us to today's ethical dilemma. Mis and disinformation and their spread on the internet. Now, there are several moments in Contagion that touch on mis and disinformation. In fact, Lawrence Fishburne's character, Dr. Ellis Sheever of the CDC, says, in order to get sick, you have to first come in contact with the sick person or something they touched. In order to get scared, all you have to do is come in contact with a rumor or the television or the internet. Thanks to Grammar Girl, we can clear up the difference between mis and disinformation. Misinformation is false information that's given without malice. And disinformation is false information, such as government propaganda, that's given with the intention to deceive. The popular rejoinder, fake news, is often attributed to actual news that folks don't agree with. And then there's the lovely concept of alternative facts. I see you out there, flat earthers. We're going to contract the truth about COVID-19 in a little game called Viral Information for Your Everyday Life, the infodemic version. So the way this works is I'm going to provide a piece of information. You don't know if it's mis or disinformation or if it's just information. And your job, Jess and viewers at home, is to figure out fact or fiction. You ready?
Oh yeah, I'm excited. And also, I am very worried that I'm not going to be able to tell any of these apart from fact or fiction. But that's why this is good for us to be playing right now.
Exactly. Here we have 5 pieces of information, viral information for your everyday life. And Jess, I want you to let me know if you think it's true or false. Okay?
Okay.
First one, washing your hands for at least 20 seconds is an effective way to reduce the contraction and spread of coronavirus.
Okay, I'm gonna say true to this one because I think I remember hearing in a bunch of places that you have to sing happy birthday twice, which is about 20 seconds while you're washing your hands in order for it to be effective. So true.
Well, you know, it's a good thing you're right, because It is true. There have been a crop of articles about songs you can sing while washing your hands that you can bop to for 20 seconds. So we'll link a couple of those in the description below. But the main idea is this GIF that we're going to put in here that shows you how to wash your hands, right? So it's very important to make sure you get all of the nooks and crannies for those 20 seconds. This vigorous rubbing of soap and water is what helps reduce that coronavirus that you may have hanging around on your skin.
And speaking really quickly about washing your hands, in relation to the movie Contagion, was it just me or did you get like the heebie-jeebies watching that movie? All of the scenes where they cut to showing like people touching stuff and like people touching the poles on the bus, and like I've never felt more like OCD in my entire life than during this movie. I was like, oh my God, I touched so many things. I touched my face so much. I never want to touch anything again. Where's the hand sanitizer?
Yes. Oh my gosh. That movie did such a good job of like just hanging on people, picking up glasses, you know, sharing napkins. I don't know, all kinds of stuff. And that kind of paranoia that you were experiencing while watching that, like it lingers with you. After I watched that movie the first time, I remember for like days being hyper like in tune with everything I was touching, everything everyone else was touching, every time someone cleared their throat, which, by the way, let me take this as an opportunity to say, if people cough or sneeze in public, do not be racist, A. Do not freak out about it, B. And C, you do that stuff too. So just calm all the way down and have all the C's, okay? There's no need to ostracize people out in public for having a bodily function of some sort. So just wanted to make that disclaimer out there. Just follow John Oliver's advice. Don't be racist. Wash your hands. It'll be okay. So, numero 2. Sipping water frequently will wash the virus down your throat and out of your system since it stays in your throat for up to 4 hours.
You know, it's funny you mention this because I had a friend who literally sent me this advice yesterday, and they were saying that it was warm water, that if you sip it, it will, every 20 minutes, if you sip warm water, it will make the virus like leave your like throat and into your stomach so that it avoids going into your lungs. And when I heard it, I was like, oh, is this true or is this not true? And then I went and made warm water just in case because I wasn't sure. But I'm gonna go with false.
Interesting. Well, as refreshing as that sip of water I just took was, it indeed will not wash the virus down my throat. That claim is false. Now, good job on you. But
thank you.
You can still enjoy some tea every now and then. There's nothing wrong with that. So, number 3, essential oils colloidal silver, vitamins, and certain teas are effective in preventing or curing coronavirus?
Okay, I've heard that coronavirus can't live on copper. I don't know if that is true or not, but that's the only thing I've heard of in terms of like certain metals. So I'm gonna go with false again.
You are correct. These claims of various items either preventing or curing coronavirus are completely unfounded. They are testing right now various drugs that they believe might be possibilities for cures, such as anti-malaria drugs, but we are far and away, long way from any sort of vaccine that will specifically target coronavirus safely. So for all the people who are hawking their wares and all of their flim flam, beware, okay? No such thing. No such thing. All right. Ready for number 4?
I'm ready. Let's bring them.
All right. Not touching your face, eyes, nose, or mouth is an effective way to prevent or reduce the contraction of coronavirus.
Is this a trick question? I'm worried about this one. I think true. Yeah.
Well, the CDC and the World Health Organization would commend you because you are correct. The idea of not touching your face, your eyes, your nose, and your mouth have been lauded the world over as a really effective way of reducing the spread of coronavirus. In fact, there's a Vietnamese PSA or public service announcement that highlights this very well. The song was so catchy that it became a dance challenge on TikTok, and I believe we have video of that here. All right, so that was exciting. So now when you're not touching your face and you're washing your hands, right, you can just do the dance and then you'll be good. So last one here. So far, you're 4 for 4. So let's see if you can sweep these with the last one. All right, I believe in you. So, social distancing, remaining out of congregate settings, avoiding mass gatherings, and maintaining distance, approximately 6 feet or 2 meters, from others when possible, is an effective way to reduce the contraction and spread of coronavirus.
Definitely true. Well, hopefully true, because that's what we keep being told to do. So if it's not true, then I've got some people I need to come after, because it's been isolation is not by choice, my friends.
See, that's why they call it self-quarantine, because they're like, no, you did this to yourself. But yes, this is true. The CDC, the World Health Organization, they have also, in addition to washing your hands for 20 seconds and not touching your face, your eyes, your nose, and your mouth, the third biggest message from them has been social distancing. So unfortunately, this is a message that has not been received well by certain groups, certain members of the population and a few people in society. I'm looking at you people in Florida, both you spring breakers and you retirees. Why? It's the young and the old working together to keep this thing going. You're on the wrong side. In fact, just get off the sides, all the sides, just social distance from everything and everybody. Okay?
Plus, social distance, I feel like it should have a different term. I think social distancing must be some pandemic terminology that's well used, because they also use this in the film Contagion.
They did.
But I think social distance isn't the right way to put it, because with social media and Zoom, we're literally doing our show right now still remotely. So we are having plenty of social contact. I think it should be like physical distance, you can still be as social as you need to be. Just stay away from people.
Yes, and I think what this does do is it sort of speaks to the way that people view technological or digital interaction as not being valid in some way. It's less than, it's cheapened, I don't know. But when we think of socializing, people discount social media, people discount the text messaging, the video chats, all of these things as aspects of socializing. And they're probably specifically referring to socializing in the physical sense, in the meat space, if you will. So I think that's a good point. Yeah, but good news is you won the game. Congratulations.
Yay!
You'll be getting
Wow.
a coronavirus test kit sent to your home. No, that's false.
There's just kidding. Anybody who even has the coronavirus would be lucky to have one of those sent to their home, at least in the States. So,
oh my gosh, that was actually one of the the alternative facts I was gonna test you with, because there are people hawking test kits.
seriously.
Yeah, in fact, we'll link to the BuzzFeed article that a lot of these myths came from, so you can read up on them and recognize them when you come across them out in the wild.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of this film, Contagion, and misinformation, and what we should do in today's day and age where a very similar thing is happening, there are some really, really strange parallels between the movie and modern day, which is why many of you might actually be hesitant, and probably should be hesitant, to watch this film, because it can cause quite a bit of fear inside of us as we watch what's happening on the screen, and then we kind of simultaneously watch the same stuff unfolding in the real world. Fortunately, the coronavirus is not nearly as deadly as some of the symptoms and the reality of the MEV1 virus, which is the virus in Contagion.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some really weird parallels that we can draw on. So one of them is in this realm of misinformation. In one scene in the movie, we see this guy, Alan, putting flyers all around the cars in San Francisco and houses, telling people that the CDC lies and trying to spread not only misinformation, but distrust of actual valid sources. And so a lot of this kind of raises this idea of, in today's day and age, as we go through a similar scary pandemic, what do we do in this realm of misinformation? Who do we trust? Who do we distrust? And when we're given information and told information from people who we do trust to not trust people like the CDC, how do we know what to do? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, when you look at the film Contagion and you see the parallels that are happening in real life, like for Cynthia, in Contagion is very similar to the malaria drugs that President Trump was touting as possible cures for the coronavirus. And you can look up the articles. We'll link a few in the description below of how the malaria drugs that President Trump was referring to are not cures. They haven't been tested for this particular virus. They haven't been through human trials. It is not a cure, and yet it's now being tested. Like, they're rerouting their testing to accommodate this particular claim. And so there's also there's respiratory drugs that people do need for particular respiratory situations and issues that are now being sort of redirected as possible coronavirus preventative or curative drugs. So now there's a run on these drugs that other people need who currently have respiratory issues, but there are people who are buying these drugs up. And how are they getting access to these drugs? First of all, because they don't have the symptoms, they don't have whatever the issues are that you would need to have in order to get access to these drugs. Like Trevor Noah did a really great job in a daily social distancing show episode of talking about this. We'll link that in the description below as well. I believe it was with a conversation with Dr. Fauci, who's the infectious diseases expert that's currently working with our government, our federal government, to help figure out what our plan is for addressing coronavirus. So in that interview, this is discussed, and people are getting their hands on these drugs that they shouldn't have access to, and they're making it harder for people who need them to actually have access to them. So there's a lot of issues when it comes to disinformation and how it actually affects people.
Yeah, and our advice to all of you in this time is to try to seek out the real information and to try to sort out the dis and misinformation. That isn't always easy, but some helpful tips might be if you see headlines that seem a little bit controversial or too good to be true, then do a little bit of research on your end. Try to figure out what is real and what is fake. And before you go sharing things on your end, make sure that you consider a share to be an endorsement. Don't just share something because it looks interesting. Share it because you want to share relevant information. So we can try to all play our part and help each other by slowing the spread of dis and misinformation and helping prop up the facts that we actually know at this point in time.
Yes, in fact, there's a really handy acronym for this particular, this exact scenario. It's called THINK. Think before you post. Think, is it true? Is it helpful or hurtful? Is it informative, illegal, inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind?
You better think about what you're trying to do to me. Yeah, think, let your mind go, let yourself be free.
Well, that sums up today's episode. We hope this gives you all something to think about.
And as many of you well know, at the end of every episode, we ask a trivia question related to something that we covered during our sci-fi analysis. If you think you know the answer, send it to us in a tweet. The first person to get the answer will be included in our shout out of our next episode. So today's trivia question is, in the film Contagion, what is the significance of the CDC selecting March 10th as the first birthday group to get the vaccine?
Think about it.
So thank you again, all of you, for bearing with us through these growing pains as we figure out how to live digitally along with all of you. And if you like this content, feel free to click that like button or subscribe button or share with your friends.
And we'll see you next time for Sci-Fi
in real life.
Complete delay.
Because on my end, it sounded like we were saying it at the same time.
Oh no. Okay, let's try that one again. Sci-Fi
in real life.
Good night and good luck, humanity.